Welcome to Gaston Spotlight. I'm your host, Aaron Park, and with me in the studio today is the founder of Anchor of Hope Sober Living, Josh Bone. Anchor of Hope is a recovery housing program serving individuals in Mecklenburg and Gaston counties, providing a structured, supportive environment for people who are rebuilding their lives after addiction through community, accountability, and a strong foundation in recovery principles. The organization helps residents transition from treatment into a stable, sober living while continuing to grow in their recovery journey. Today, we will talk about how Anchor of Hope began, the role sober living plays in long-term recovery, and the impact the program is having in our local community. Josh, welcome to the studio.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm grateful to be here.
Yeah, if you can, just tell us a little bit about your background and how your journey eventually led for you to be working in the recovery programs.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm a native here of Dallas, North Carolina, and had a relatively good and normal life growing up. I ended up attending college at UNC Chapel Hill. And that's where life kind of got a little interesting for me. Alcohol became a requirement pretty much for a significant amount of time in my life, and really had an impact that brought me down. About 9 years ago, actually 9 years ago today, I was sitting here in Gaston County Jail. And that's a long way from entering into a pretty prestigious college and life looking well to spiritually bankrupt and empty, sitting in a county jail. After that, I ended up in Charlotte and finally found a solution through a 12-step recovery program. And life began to look good. I'd worked in restaurants literally for 19 years, and that kind of been primarily the industry that I had worked in. And it had stopped being fulfilling a long time before that, and I really was searching for the opportunity to serve in a greater capacity. I got that opportunity at a treatment center in Charlotte, and at a year sober, I kind of just dove into really educating myself about what treatment looked like and ways to give back. At about 2 years sober, I launched a GoFundMe account to create Anchor of Hope Sober Living. I really just had the knowledge from my personal experience about what that looked like, and beyond that, I had no financial resources or specific that type of business planning. To me, it's a spiritual thing, it's a God thing, and I felt like those doors were opened. About 60 days into that launching that campaign, the funds were raised sufficient enough to open our first home. And we opened our first house, and it was kind of scary, starting things on the generosity of others and then trying to maintain them through what is not necessarily the best business plan. It was scary, but it has worked out tremendously.
Yeah, so a lot of people in recovery talk about a turning point moment in their life. What would you say that was for you?
For me, a lot of people experience pain or some type of health challenge that they may have to walk through. For me, it was literally being in jail and realizing that this is what I had to look forward to for the rest of my life if addiction didn't kill me. And I knew that based on my past that I had a brighter life than that. I knew that there was opportunities available if I was willing to make some changes. And I can be honest and say that, at one point I just wanted to get like all this probation stuff and jail and just get out of they call it off paper. I just wanted to be done with all of that stuff. And I had a probation officer look at me and he said, "Why don't you do something really challenging?" He's like, "Why don't you change your life?" And that's the first time that it had been put to me like that I was in the positions that I was in based on the behaviors that I'd been doing. And instead of just going through the monotony and continuing down that road of literally just, aligning with whatever the courts or whatever was telling me to do, why didn't I do something different and make some drastic changes in my life? So that's what I did.
So can you share about a little bit the beginning days of Anchor of Hope, and in retrospect, what that looks like to you now?
Yeah, absolutely. Those beginning days were incredibly difficult and scary. I was at a position in my life where it was very, very full. Time was very, very limited. And to be honest, I didn't know how I was going to make all of this work. I was working full-time at a treatment facility as a case manager and IOP therapist. I had a small child at home, and here I was trying to start a campaign, a business. I don't like to call it a business, but for lack of better terms. And you know, time is limited, and just also the fears of creating something new in the Charlotte area, essentially based on the faith that this was going to work. Signing a lease on a home so that I did not have the finances to pay next month's bills on. All those things were incredibly scary, but as soon, literally the day that I signed a lease without any real advertising of any sorts, people began to call me looking for placement into sober living, and I have no explanation, no real explanation as to how that happened other than it being God.
Yeah, so for people who are not very familiar with sober living and the concept of it, tell us a little bit about that and the impact it has on communities.
Of course. So sober living kind of is a relatively new term. In the past, they've been referred to as halfway houses. To me, I find that derogatory, and I don't like that term. So halfway kind of sounds bad, so we've kind of recoined that as sober living, because that's essentially all it is. These homes provide structure and accountability. Everyone within the home is held to the same standards. They're required to attend meetings that are specifically for their recovery. They are subject to both random and scheduled drug testing. They have curfews. They have small chores around the home, and within the home, most importantly, they have a community of men or women. We have women's homes, we have men's homes, that are all doing exactly the same things. Most of them come to us in kind of the same period of life, meaning early recovery, that first 6 months. Occasionally we serve people that are moving to the area from other states that maybe have some time and kind of just checking out North Carolina before they enter into their own lease. But essentially what sober living provides is an opportunity for people that are literally restarting their life to restart their life. A lot of the men and women we serve maybe have charges that would eliminate their opportunities to rent from, you know, rent a home or an apartment or whatever. So they need time in between to reestablish that. Most of them do not have, you know, good credit. They don't have finances. You know, things have changed drastically over the last 5 to 6 years about the amount of money that's required to enter into a lease. So our sober living homes give them that opportunity to establish independence. We do not have a set time period. I don't try to determine exactly how much time it takes for a person to put their life back together. That's dependent on, you know, what happened before they came in. But essentially the homes implement structure, they implement the requirements to maintain their sobriety and to maintain the activities that supplement and make their sobriety possible.
Yeah, and Anchor of Hope talks a lot about community and fellowship. So how do those ideas show up in the sober living homes in a day-to-day basis?
So there's a quote that I've shared for years now, and most people look at addiction and you think addiction, and the opposite of addiction would be sobriety or sober. But the opposite of addiction actually is connection. You know, addiction forces us into isolation. It forces us more into ourselves and being self-sufficient and basically supplying all our needs through drugs and alcohol. Recovery pushes us to the opposite side of that connection with other people that identify in the same struggles, the connection to you know, a power greater than ourselves, connection to a God that supplies the remedy for the problems that we're facing. Within Anchor of Hope, we do all types of community events. A lot of us attend church together. We have events throughout the year that are highly motivated towards the connection of the community. With us currently serving about 170 clients at Anchor, it's incredibly hard to get that many people together for obvious reasons, but both for the fact that a lot of our clients, have their own lives. They're living life and have their own schedules and everything. But a couple times a year, we pull our entire community together. It's just really incredible to see the power of that many people that are doing the same things. And that's on top of the many, many people that we've served already in Charlotte that have moved on, that are continuing to be a part of that community. Over the last 6 years, we've served over 3,500 people. And many of those people still reside in Charlotte. They're still a part of the recovery community, and they're still connected in one way or another to Anchor of Hope. And that connection that we see within the homes, the family that we see build and raised up is just unbelievable.
So throughout those 3,500 people that you have helped and assisted, what have you learned about the program and during the recovery process?
I would say that I've learned that recovery is not linear. Not everyone recovers at the same rate. Not everybody's recovery looks the same. And those are some things that I can say that I've learned through, the people that we've served. Some people's goals are literally to just remain sober and have a job. Some people's goals are to get back to their spouse. Some people's goals are to be present, to get their kids back, to be present in their kids' lives. All of those things are accomplished through the requirements that we have, but learning to accept that everybody's recovery is not going to look exactly the same.
So when throughout your time working with sober living, has there been any success stories that you've noticed that have really touched your heart or other people's hearts?
Oh, absolutely. More than I can count, honestly. We have two guys, I won't mention them by name, but one of those guys now operates a detox and treatment facility. He is working in the field and creating industry to continue to serve the population that he's a part of. Another guy also is now an operations director for a large treatment facility, and day in and day out is in the middle of all of this. Beyond that, I've taken steps to be ordained, and because of that, I've had the opportunity literally to officiate and marry multiple people that have come through Anchor. And when they got there, they were broken, they were hopeless, and through the time, either in Anchor or beyond that, they've met someone, and I've been the officiant for multiple marriages for people that I've met just coming through Anchor. I've also had the opportunity to, attend court hearings and help people reclaim their life. Guys that are facing, not days, they're facing years in jail or prison, and because of the changes they made during the time with us, they walk free and get to continue their life. There's so many stories of people that are not just living but thriving in life in recovery. All over, we've had people come literally from most of the 50 states, including Alaska. We had a guy come from Alaska, which is crazy. And I don't understand organically how that happens. I don't have some big campaign or anything. We have a Facebook page, we have an Instagram, and we have a website that's primarily used for operations. But somehow our name has made it across the country to Texas and California and Washington State and Florida and many, many other states. And people come here and they're sick when they get here, and they recover and they move forward in life and they give it away. That's the most important thing. Many, many people who come through our program see the importance of that connection community, and they're willing to share and give back to others.
So when you see those stories like that, how does that make you feel as a person who had a big part in their recovery?
It's incredibly fulfilling. And there's sayings in the community that we share. We keep what we have by giving it away, and I firmly believe that's true. My life had to change drastically. From working in restaurants and the things that I did for such a long period of time, I had to change what I was doing in order to maintain the recovery that I've been given. The ability to just have a small part in people's lives and to be able to check up on them and they remember just a phone call, a text. I can't count the times that people have reached out to me and just said thank you for the text, thank you for answering my call, thank you for letting me come into your program, which that's what we do, is let people come in. So it's it's unbelievable.
So you had mentioned to us before the show that you also work with Achieve Behavioral Health right here in Gaston County. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yes, I'm so honored to be a part of the solution here in Gaston County. Just organically through my time working in the recovery field, I'm actually a certified alcohol and drug counselor, so I worked as a therapist for a little while, and through my times with Anchor of Hope, I've just made a lot of connections in the industry. That developed into a very valuable resource for for other programs to grow. Achieve Behavioral Health is a program based out of Maryland. They decided they wanted to open here in Gastonia, North Carolina, and their co-founder literally found me in the community, reached out to me, and asked if I would like to be a part of bringing Medicaid recovery to Gaston County. And having been one of those people that was lost in the mix, I attended detox here in Gastonia probably 15 times, and there was just no step beyond that. Achieve is bridging that gap and becoming that step. We are 100% Medicaid based, so serving the highly underserved community here in Gastonia. Currently, we're serving about 40 clients, and we're a 60-day program. A 60-day program that allows people to build a foundation with individual counseling, with extensive case management, with introduction into what recovery looks like, learning about the psychoeducational piece of this, and that they're not just broken people, that there's things that have gone on in their life that may have caused what they're facing. I was literally living in a hotel on the same road that Achieve is located on. And my drive to work every day is almost like a trip down memory lane of where I was and what I get to come back to. I'm just immensely honored to be a part of something here in Gastonia that didn't exist literally until a little over a year ago. And we've got a great path lined up to continue to grow. Currently we're a men's program, but we will be expanding to a women's program and growing here in Gaston County and becoming a beacon of light for those that are needing help.
So looking forward with both of those organizations, what do you hope to see in the coming days and months and years in the recovery community?
What I'd like to see is these programs continue to reinvest into Gaston County. It's no secret that drugs and alcohol are a problem everywhere. I believe that if you're from this area that you understand just how prevalent it can be. Our desire is to make Gaston County a highly
You're good. You're good.
just a destination for the recovery community. We want there to be an influx of people that are here. So Achieve accomplished this up in Bel Air, Maryland, and Bel Air has become kind of just a haven for those in recovery. And I believe that's possible here in Gaston. Having been here and seen the recovery community that's already here, if we begin to invest and grow, if we create jobs based around recovery, if we create a place that people want to be a part of, rather than to leave. I personally had to leave Gaston to get sober, but we want people to feel safe and to create just this environment that is recovery rich. They have a term called recovery capital, and we want that to be founded here in Gaston. We want there to be resources. We want there to be housing for those in recovery. We want there to be jobs and employers that are willing to hire second chance people. And the more people that we put back into the community that are working towards those goals, the more influence that we can have and the more change we can elicit here.
So for someone watching today who might be struggling with addiction or struggling with reaching out for help at all, what would be a short message of encouragement you would have to them?
No, unfortunately, for me, I understand that this was a life and death thing. If I continue to use and drink, I will die. And it won't be on my terms, and it won't be very pretty, and it won't be very timely. On the other side of that, I have the promise of hope. I have the promise of freedom if I'm willing to put in some actions and make some changes. They will not be easy. If recovery was easy, I probably wouldn't be on this broadcast, and I'm sure I would have a different line of work. It's probably the most challenging thing a person could ever do, is to literally tear down their lives and rebuild it in a completely different manner and changing the way that you think. But it is possible. There's hundreds of thousands and millions of people that have done it, and if somebody can do it, then you can do it too. There's nothing that someone hasn't faced and made it through sober that anybody is facing today. And that's a fact, and I see that all the time, whether it's the loss of a loved one, whether it's divorce, whether it's the loss of a child, whether it's cancer, whether it's any of these things that sound just like life-changing events. People walk through those things in sobriety, but you've got to reach out and find that recovery first. If you're struggling with addiction, there's a way out, and I know that because I found it myself.
Well, Josh, thank you so much for coming on. That's all the time we have for today. And we appreciate you coming on and sharing your story and the work that you're doing to bring hope and recovery to the people in our community. If you'd like to see more of what we do here in the audio video program, you can follow us on Instagram at Gaston Broadcast. I'm your host, Aaron Park, and this has been Gaston Spotlight.